Everyone to the United Lodge of Theosophists of Washington, D.C. The Lodge professes the independent devotion to the cause of Theosophy and without any attachment to Theosophic organization. It's loyal to the great founders of the Theosophical movement, but does not concern itself with dissension or differences in individual opinions. Today's talk will be a cultivation of faith, and it will be followed by readings. I would like to read the fundamental propositions as an introductory reading for the talk. Starting at the top of the page 14 of the Secret Doctrine, Volume 1, we find three fundamentals that work together as one. They apply to nature's laws as presented throughout the Secret Doctrine. The first fundamental is on deity, the unity of all existence, the rootless root of all that was, that is, or ever shall be. It extends to beyond the range of human comprehension and can only be dwarfed by any human expression. It is beingness rather than being, and is thought of as the great breath of the one reality. It is the dynamic energy that might be linked to that small voice that wells up within every individual soul, that consciousness that should be our guide. Spirit matter, soul life, embodied and unembodied. What people generally call God or deity is an aspect of life, the omnipresent principle, which invisibly functions in the atom as in the cosmos and which abides as the self in the heart of every creature. Another aspect of life is law. People speak of the laws of God, the laws of nature. It would be more accurate to speak of God as law. God, life, self are no different from law. They are law. The spirit of the universe also surrounds and is within all. We eternal pilgrims have the opportunity to become gods, or one with the absolute, through sustained effort. We honor the gods as superior beings to emulate, but not as beings outside of ourselves. The second fundamental is on the law that brings out the analogy between the process of nature in the cosmos and in the individual man, day and night, life and death, sleeping and waking, karma and reincarnation. Man's lower principles disintegrate in time. Nature uses them again with their various imprints from past uses to form new human principles. The same process takes place in disintegration and formation of worlds. There is a perpetual exchange of atoms correlating and changing their combining equivalents, like the perfect flower dying in order to grow into a perfect fruit. Man himself punishes and rewards based on his deeds. As above, so it is below. The third fundamental is on evolution. The whole order of nature is progressively marching toward the higher life in the cycle of incarnation. No spiritual Buddhi, divine soul, can have an independent conscious existence before the spark from its essence has passed through every elemental form and has acquired individuality, first by natural impulse from the mineral and plant and to the animal and up to the human stage. Thereafter, we progress by self-induced and self-devised effort, checked by karma, up to the holiest archangel, Dhyani and Buddha. Each entity must have won for itself the right to becoming divine through self-experience. The physical evolves gradually from the spiritual, mental, and psychic. Elementals are all future men. No one has ever reached adeptship in one embodiment. Each man has within himself the spark of an adept and can evolve into an adept through self-induced and self-devised methods, aided by masters of wisdom to the extent allowed by karma. And now a devotional reading. from Gita, chapter 17, devotion as regards the three kings of faith. The faith of mortals is of three kinds and is born from their own disposition. It is of the quality of truth, satya, action, rajas, and indifferences, tamas. Hear now what those are. The face of each one of son of Bharata proceeds from the sattva quality. The embodied soul being gifted with face, each man is of the same nature, and that ideal on which his face is fixed. Those who are of the disposition which are from the prevalence of the sattva or good quality worship the gods, those of the quality of rajas worship the celestial powers, the yakshas and rakshasas. Other men in whom the dark quality of indifference or tamas predominates worship elemental powers and the ghosts of dead men. Those who practice several self-mortification not enjoyed in the scriptures are full of hypocrisy and pride, longing for what is past and desiring more to come. They, full of delusion, torture the powers and faculties which are in the body. And me also, who am in the recess of the innermost heart, know that they are of an infernal tendency. Om Tat Sat. These are said to be the threefold designation of the Supreme Being. By these, in the beginning were sanctified the knowers of Brahma, the Vedas and sacrifices. Therefore, the sacrifices, the giving of alms, and the practicing of austerities, and always among those who expound Holy Writ, preceded by the word Om. Among those who long for immortality and who do not consider the reward of their actions, the word Tat precedes their rites of sacrifice, their austerities, and giving of alms. The word Sat is used for qualities that are true and holy, and likewise is applied to laudable actions. O son of Prita, the state of mental sacrifice when actions are at rest is also called Sat. Whatever is done without faith, whether it be sacrifice, almsgiving, or austerities, is called Asat, that which is devoid of truth and goodness. O son of Prita, and is not of any benefit, either in this life or after death. And now the talk, cultivation of faith.
After that, I'll tell you what to do.
Okay.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. This talk is called Cultivation of Faith. It's built on the your TDC website talk given in 2017, July 16, titled The Three Kinds of Faith. The previous students also said that these three kinds all are all the sattva quality, but one is better than the other. So we're going to get into that today. If we're missing any gaps, and if you don't ask us today, take a look at the talk on 2017. It's on the website, and there's a lot of detail that I wouldn't get into today. But the student that gave that talk was very knowledgeable, and it would be very worthwhile to take a look at that. As first, before we skip, we'll go right through because there's a lot of detail in the prior talk. The first bullet I got here is the higher self uses faith to bring things together. The ethics shows us that self-conscious and deliberate processes of evolution are possible. Second bullet down there. Can you all see if this? It's probably too small for you to see in the.
Yeah, the letters are a bit small, but that's okay. I guess that's how it's always been. So it's okay.
Yeah, it'll be on the online.
Yeah.
You need it. But that's the first part of it. I think I just said. Then number two is we can take our mind in hand and train it, and take our faith in hand and cultivate it. And number three, first and foremost, we must have faith in ourselves. Second, we must understand that we are part of the law which produces unity. Number five, some may start having comments on the bullets on there. If masters have mastered the principles that we want to awaken within ourselves, these principles manifest in human nature as illuminated reason, sometimes spoken of as pure and compassionate reason, and sometimes as real intuition. The clear light of the sun illuminates in one flash. No reason is necessary. The light of faith acts in the same manner. We can eventually master the principles as well because we are consubstantial with our elder brothers, the masters. They've done, we can do it too. Okay, we must not make the mistake of judging the quality of our faith by what we believe in. It is how we believe, by what process of faith makes itself manifest, determines the quality of the belief. There's no difference in the faith of the fanatical follower of Muhammad and the fanatical believer of Christ. There are those who affirm my faith is superior because I believe in so-and-so and not in so-and-so. It makes no difference. Therefore, whether you believe in the Bible, Quran, the secret doctrine, if you believe in that way, your faith is of the Lord's kind. In whom does the spiritual man put his faith? In himself first. Because he finds that everything changes, save one thing, and that is his own individual consciousness. We're talking about higher self here. So his body changes, everything about him changes except for that individual consciousness. His sense of expression, his changes. His feelings alternate as the thoughts come and go. He goes on. So number 7, when the soul becomes the stable factor of knowledge, love and bliss, the real faith awakens. This faith is named Shraddha. Those who manifest this highest kind of faith are entirely dependent on themselves. Their nature is rhythmic and harmonious, producing bliss and joy. Hence the great law of Manu. Number 8. Self-dependence is happiness. Other dependence is misery. Theosophy teaches that self-conscious and deliberative processes of evolution are possible for human beings. So you can take your mind in hand and train it, or you can take your faith in hand and cultivate it. First and foremost, to have faith in ourselves. Second, have faith in the law, which embodies us. Third, those who are these are the two fundamentals that we saw about cardinal factors of awakening spiritual faith. But it depends on our recognition of the soul consciousness above the mind, which controls and energizes the mind and feelings and senses. If we do not recognize ourselves as above these, we find that which surrounds us is in the nature of chaos. So let us have faith in ourselves first, the real I, continuous and persistent among the changing panorama of life, and the chaos becomes the cosmos. The higher faith demands that we recognize ourselves as existing portions of the bigger whole. When we take our evolution in our own hands, we begin to make a deliberate use of the great psychological laws of self-growth. And we are bound to come face to face with a universal experience. That is what is sometimes called spoken of as a test of the soul, or as a dark night of the soul, a condition in which we find ourselves standing alone. Relatives and friends desert us because they can't keep, they don't know where we're coming from. Our acquaintances are unreliable. What helps us then is the highest thing, our inner bliss of bonds, though you may be intellectually puzzled and emotionally depressed. Bliss about us because we recognize that we are part and parcel of the law. And because we believe in the law, partially felt and known within ourselves, we must logically deduce that there are beings who have transcended the law and are not slaves to it, but are as arbiters who are masters of it. And hence faith in masters is awakened. Well, faith often begins at the wrong end. Number 9, people want to believe in the masses before they have gone to believe in themselves, before they have even a concept of who the masses are or what they stand for. It is wise to proceed from the teachings to the teachers, from the law to those who embody the law, perfectly embody it. If we want the real faith, 3 things are necessary: belief in oneself, belief in the law, you heard there's Cooper previously, and now belief in those who perfectly embody the law. These 3 things bring to us in our daily life the ideal that sustains and inspires us to go on and on, higher and higher. In our religions, we find the ideal of the Savior, the prophet, the teacher. But even that ideal fails because people begin to believe in the prophet, the Savior, or Savior, before they begin to believe in themselves, before they begin to recognize themselves as part and parcel of the law. If one believes in Christ without recognizing the fact that the believer himself is an unfolding Christ, and that there are other people who are also unfolding Christ, he will posit a wrong basis unless all the practice are present. And one in which the individual recognizes not only his own existence, but the identity of himself in essence with the ideal. Was Christ not more than superficially real to many church-going Christians? Because they do not believe that they are like him in their individual essence. They do not believe that their difference from him is a difference in degree of informed, not of kind. If we are worshiping an ideal, then we must recognize ourselves as worthy of a relationship with the ideal. But what is worship? Save to prove ourselves worthy of a relationship with the object of adoration. Masters and prophets are personalities. We want to follow them because they embody principles, because they are institutions. They're not men. They stand for something which is we want to show forth in our own life. And that particular fact we ought to keep in mind. All of us are trying to recognize in our own life the beauty of our own ideal. But we do not achieve the success because we understand the principles which our ideals manifest. Unless we understand the principles of our ideals manifest. Therefore, the ideals which we select as our object to be worshipped must be as high as possible. We may be given the idea of a Godhead like Christ and Krishna, but we have to reconstruct the mind, at least in the West, for we cannot realize the principles which are universal by the help of minds, which contact only a very, very limited universe. If we want to appreciate a wonderful piece of music, we must have music in us. So we see that the law of concentration work. We are able to see stars in millions of miles away because we are not able, but we are not able to see the spook or the angel, right? Their breath. We're not able to see the angel right in front of our eyes because our eyes are not developed enough to do it. Clairvoyants are people of clear vision who have in them the substance that can see what is ordinarily invisible. So we can do that someday, but maybe not visible now. If we want to worship the masses, we've become worthy of a relationship with the saviors, the Buddhas, the Christ of the ages gone by. We must have within us the substance of which they are made. We get a scientific basis for the work that lies before us, but which we can so train our minds that they are not swayed by senses or sense impressions, by feelings like likes and dislikes, but so that our minds are energized from within by the spiritual consciousness which is in our real self, our true I, and which uses the mind because in himself is the vision of immortal principles that stands there. Sri Krishna says in the Gita that the path of the impersonal is hard to tread. It is hard because but the path of the impersonal begins in the impersonal and so then contacts the personalities, institutions, personage, and the like. The mistake is made when people begin with personalities without verifying their position in reference to the principles which those particular personalities embody. So we take HPB's great statement. Follow the path I show. Do not follow me. And the teaching given again and again by all the great mystics, we will find a great truth therein. Let us follow the personalities if we like, but let us make sure of the principles which those personalities embody. At the end of the Gita, we found Arjuna ready to follow Sri Krishna because he is shown the principles which Krishna is embodying in himself. And hence the statement that where Arjuna is, where Krishna is too, there is happiness and prosperity. Thus we find the highest form of faith. This manifests itself in human nature as illustrated, as illuminated reason, sometimes spoken of as pure and compassionate reason, sometimes as intuition. We should note that that many things are called intuition and are not. And in the glossary, we have the definition of intuition. And one time we'd like to read it now. And I just heard a talk on which was very related to this intuition last Friday night, given by the person in the London.
Intuition.
Let me finish it there. And it was about something that goes with us from life to life, and this intuition. And once we develop it, we develop it in the third stage, and then continue development at a previous line, next line.
I'm not finding it, Herb.
Intuition?
Mm-hmm. Unless I'm spelling it wrong. You take a look. Not this one, but
I read it before I came here.
Initiate.
Maybe it's in my copy, not this one. This is order, right?
Yeah, no, it's not here.
So it should be after this.
Yeah. Intercosmic gods, Iranian worlds. No?
No? Intuition.
Maybe in a different glossary?
Initiation.
Yeah, there's just initiation. Maybe you thought initiation is intuition.
I think initiation is
Should we read initiation?
Yeah, I'm probably reading that.
Okay.
Might be in there.
From the same root as the Latin initia, which means the basic or first principles of any science, the practice of initiation or admission into the sacred mysteries taught by the hierophants and learned priests of the temples is one of the most ancient customs. This was practiced in every old national religion. In Europe, it was abolished with the fall of the last pagan temple. There exists at present but one kind of initiation known to the public, namely that into the Masonic rites. Masonry, however, has no more secrets to give out or conceal. In the palmy days of old, the mysteries, according to the greatest Greek and Roman philosophers, were the most sacred of all solemnities, as well as the most beneficent and greatly promoted virtue. The mysteries represented the passage from mortal life into finite death, and the experiences of the disembodied spirit and soul in the world of subjectivity. In our own day, as the secret is lost, the candidate passes through sundry meaningless ceremonies and is initiated into the solar allegory of Hiram Abed, the widow's son.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, the talk I heard Friday night was called character. So our character is what goes on. It's just along those lines. Goes on from life to life, and if we work on improving our character, that will continue over the next life. Number 10, let us endeavor to awaken the real faith, which enlightens our whole being and the beings of those whom we contact. So there's a passage on faith and belief, and I'll summarize that now. Where do you draw the line between the life-giving force of enthusiasm and fanaticism? Do we possess such insight into our own minds that faced with the necessity of decision, we readily discern between wisdom and learning? It is the seeming identity of man powers and man's inability to discern between them that is the cause of all the world's delusions. Says Mr. Judge, Manas, or the thinker, is the reincarnation being, the immortal who carries the results and values of all the different lives lived on earth or elsewhere. The nature of Manas becomes dual as soon as it is attached to the body. This, says HPV, is the key to the whole mystery of man's inner nature. Because mind is dual, during the period of incarnation, every one of its powers presents a twofold aspect. One bearing kinship for the God above, the other shows traits of the inconstant personality. Faith, like all powers of the human soul, is twofold in its nature. The higher, having its roots in the immortal self, is pure, holy, and divine, and consequently has nothing to do with the reasoning of the brain mind. Fed from its above by the fire of knowledge, it makes no mistakes, for it looks directly to the heart of things. It is true wisdom or enlightenment, no noble quality existing in the whole makeup of the inner man. Identical though they seem to be, the average man, number 11, faith seems to the average man, faith and belief are an infinity apart, separated by an abyss to be spanned by only by him who wills to know. What perspective for this term today? Man's divinest faculty, with potent creative power, lowered to the level of blind belief, based on ignorance and fear. Better by far the word faith had never been heard. For then, at least no one would glory in the possession of ignorance, nor could priests and preachers convince the followers that there is virtue in blindness. Identical though they seem to the average man, faith and belief are an infinity apart, separated by an abyss to be spanned only by him who wills to know. So man's the divinest faculty with potent creative power is lowered to the level of blind belief, a mere nothingness based on ignorance and fear. Better by far the word faith had never been heard. For then at least no one would glory in the position of ignorance, nor could priest and priestess convince the followers that there is virtue in blindness. Man's feeling of deity, that there is something behind all this, behind this feeling of justice and immortality, is a perception common to the whole human race. It springs from knowledge impacted on the imperishable center of his nature, and this is his true faith. But how is a man strong in such convictions ever to learn that though the feelings are true, his ideas regarding these truths are false? That the church dogma of God, miracle, and vicarious atonement are mere beliefs. How is he to understand that the impulse to a higher life, feelings of charity, love, and compassion, felt strongly in his soul, come from inner faith and not from outer belief? To separate the two, it is difficult for the average man to has to realize that within his human frame are two minds. For this reason, true teachers ever warn against proselytizing, against making any attempt to unsettle those fast fixed in their beliefs, lest the serenity of their faith be disturbed or destroyed, lest they be caused to relax in their duty to that which they see to be right. The dogmas and beliefs which encumber man's soul are not to be stripped all from the outside. They must be shed from within by the awakening human mind, the evolving spirit of man. In the course of cyclical rise, breaks through the limiting word of creed, the limiting walls of creed. What is given to us in theosophy, says Robert Crosby, is for the purpose of arousing the attention of the center of that center within us, which can see, which can know, which can do. When it resumes its own nature and established status. With faith, all things are possible, says the ancient sages. Or number 12, faith is that great engine of the occult cosmos which sets the will in motion. Through it, man links himself with his ideal, encompasses within his sphere the whole structure of that upon which his heart is set. Working upon the extremely tenuous matter of the invisible universe, faith surrounds any project with a living substance, making of it a unified whole capable of coordinated action upon all its parts. Number 13. By means of faith, all men accomplish unknowingly great things. If this be true of worldly undertakings, how much more true must it be of a higher and noble cause, having for its aim the welfare of the human race? The ideal of the theosophical movement is the universal brotherhood of humanity. That ideal is kept in being by the faith and the will of the great founders. I'm sorry, let me read that. Yeah, that ideal is kept in work upon that ideal. The erection is visibly of a strong bond of comradeship the nucleus from which all else will may flow. But can this be done without faith in the ideal and in humanity? Can it be done without faith in each other, in those of our fellow companions who, like ourselves, are striving toward the same end? It is by faith alone that creative faculty of the higher mind by which we envision the ideal and see reflected in the present the promise of what must be. To keep the faith means to hold the vision, to steadfastly act on the basis of it alone. This little verb here, the antipolar powers of mind, and prepared presentation. Number 14, man's greatest need, said the teachers, is a knowledge of his own true nature, a perception of his place in the scheme of things. He needs to know that the power which makes for evil can, with equal force, be turned to good. What inhibits anything? No false religions, religious ideas about what we are. Chief of which is the teaching that man is a poor, miserable sinner, inherently imperfect, and born in sin. What can be more degrading than this? Or placing upon man the burden or responsibility of his sins, Theosophy teaches him to look up, to grasp the power that is his by divine birthright. Even if thou wert the greatest of all sinners, says the Bhagavad Gita, thou shalt be able to cross over all sins in the bark of spiritual knowledge. While wild beasts did planets, or matter of view of human animals we have, do we ask? Why the harsh streams through which we go, instead of the quiet, beneficent contrast of the opposite? Why this demon Satan running rampart in a world guided by kind and loving God? The answer is that man is a God, incarnation in human form, learning to master the powers of self. He is a divine being, waging in himself a unique battle, that for spiritual freedom. Upon his shoulders rests the moral equivalent of the universe. Shall he therefore be judged too harshly for his present imperfections? And this is what he ends his message with. It's something in British here. It's lower manners is higher manners reversed. So that ends the presentation that's prepared. Turn the floor over to you guys. I haven't seen this before, and it makes sense that the lower minus is higher minus reverse.
If we really resonated of us placing faith in masters or whoever it is before having faith in ourselves.
Yeah.
And we just sort of project all of that, and we just believe in that instead of believing in our ability to.
I really hadn't heard that.
Yeah, very well said.
Before it was said in the words that were delivered today, which were not, of course, my words. That kind of material that Lodge has.
Yeah, that's very deep, because often we trust or not trust the others, but it is really our trust in ourselves to master any situations in life, to rise to occasion. It's really never about the others, be it people or masters or gods. It's really our ability to
They're
face
here to
whatever
show
it
us the way.
Yeah.
They're not doing it for
Yeah.
us. They can't do it for us.
is.
Congo does it all the time.
Mhm.
Again, that's what the words say. I'm not a master, so I have to go by what the information is. Makes sense to me, so I repeat it. We've got a few more minutes if anybody wants to talk about anything. Yeah, anything at all. I'm talking to some good talkers.
It was good.
If not anything else to say, we'll close the meeting early and start our afternoon meeting also a little early. Maybe about 10 minutes from now.
Mhm. All right,
Okay, thank you.
going on break.
Thank you, Hub.
Thank you.
Thank you.